This is the retelling of the story of the Old Testament, focusing on the latter half of the Old Testament. Of course, most of us know the beginnings in Genesis, all the way through the Pentateuch, the stories of the patriarchs, as well as Moses and Joshua and Judges, and how the people enter into the promised land. And then many of us know the stories of Saul, the first king of Israel, around 1050 BC, and David around 1010, and then Solomon around 970 BC. This is the United Kingdom. That's when it becomes blurry, when the kingdom divides. Well, the real son of Solomon is Rehoboam, and he's not related to the king of the north, which is Jeroboam. Jeroboam takes 10 tribes, Rehoboam takes 2 tribes, and the kingdom is divided. This is also the time where the prophets begin to prophesy in Israel and Judah. So you have northern prophets and you have southern kingdom prophets. Most of the prophets are to the kingdom of Judah, but there are many that are also to the kingdom of Israel. Now, the northern kingdom is full of evil, wicked kings. And so they don't survive too many years because the Assyrians eventually come in and invade and scatter all of the northern kingdom, and the 10 tribes of the north are done away with. That happens in 722 BC. The southern kingdom lasts a little longer until the ruling power, the Babylonians, come into power, and they destroy Judah and Jerusalem in 586 BC. Then comes the time of the exile, when most of Israel, or at least the ruling power of Israel, is in Babylon. There's no Assyria anymore. It's Babylon who's in charge. And so you have the exilic prophets like Daniel and Ezekiel. You have the time of the writing of Lamentations. Then we have the last part of the Old Testament. It's important to understand this last part of the Old Testament, Ezra to Nehemiah. This is post-exile. In other words, the Israelites have returned home. Specifically, Judah has come back home. And that comes with Governor Zerubbabel. The first half of the book of Ezra is about Zerubbabel, this governor who comes back to Jerusalem and rebuilds the temple that had been destroyed. The first temple was built by Solomon. This is the second temple, Zerubbabel's temple. In between Zerubbabel and Ezra, who brings the law that's back to Judah, is the time of Esther. This story of Esther is a powerful story of a woman who is an Israelite, a Jewish woman in Persia during the time of the post-exilic time period. And so we have 3 times where Jews come back. The first wave is in the time of Zerubbabel. That's in 515 BC. The second wave is in 458 BC during the time of Ezra. And then the last wave is in Nehemiah's time, where Nehemiah comes to rebuild the wall, and that's in 445 BC. All of that starts when the Persian king Cyrus comes into power. Cyrus II, Cyrus the Great, in about 539 BC. So 539 BC leads to these 3 waves of Israelites returning home. And that really leads us to the end of the Old Testament story, where our last prophet is Malachi, who looks forward to a new king who's going to come, one who will unite all kingdoms, both in heaven and earth. And that king is Jesus.